Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions regarding this watch. Today, a beautiful German-built Lange Sohne 1815 Flyback Chronograph. This variant in white gold was launched in 2015 and it was a boutique-only edition because this is the second generation 1815 Flyback Chronograph, the reference 414.026 here. It was out of the gate in 2010 considered a little bit austere. The original 1815 was a beautifully nuanced and charming watch. The original version of the Gen 2 was not. However, this model reintroduces a scale on the outer circumference here, a pulsometric scale, and a wonderfully warm and endearing combination of blue on silver white printing. Elegance regained. So the watch draws on some of the original charms of the first generation model made from 2004 to 2008. You can see here white gold, really gray gold, more on that in a moment, 39.5 millimeters in diameter. From lug tip to lug tip, we have a 48.3 millimeter span across the wrist with an 11.3 millimeter thickness and a spacing of 20 millimeters in between the lugs. We'll throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters circumference, and I do prefer the 1815 over the dotograph. The case back view is exactly the same. Everything that makes the dotograph is on the dial side, and thus its movement mechanics you can't see. By dispensing with the power reserve of the up-down as well as the double date, we get a much thinner watch that is more graceful in profile and a better competition for Patek's, well, at the time this was made, the 5170, today the 5172. The watch is glorious, and I would say it could even wear on a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference. My wrist is 16. I've got a bit of clearance on each side. Here's your over-the-top, which always exaggerates the width of the watch. Then here's your cuff shot, so you can imagine it fitting easily under a dress shirt or a tight sleeve. The strap's a lovely piece. You can see we have round scale alligator leather in dark blue, matte finish. We've got a monotone stitch, a sheer cut edge that's been lacquered for refinement on the bottom. You can see that it's calfskin, no crimping, no gouging. A brand new Jean Rousseau, Parisian made strap. They're the OEM supplier to Debitoon and FP Journe, I believe, so this is top of the line. You can see the use of pull tab spring bars, so you can pop the strap off the case without a tool. Then we have Lange's well-known pin buckle. Aside from some soft facets on the outside, its two standout features are this little retaining bar that prevents the strap from getting stuck on your wrist if you have to strap it down tight. And then there's this elevated bridge here that allows the strap to sit inside the buckle rather than stacking up and adding height once it's sized down on your wrist. You'll also note that there is a little B in there. That's Boussole d'Or, which is a Swiss buckle maker, which is why there is a Swiss hallmark on this German watch's clasp. Let's see if we can figure out who made the case. Lange does not make cases. Centror, which I believe is a company associated with Audemars Piguet, which is again why we have a Swiss hallmark on this German-made watch. Jumping back to the dial side, you can see that we've got a dial that's made of sterling silver. It's then galvanized silver white and printed in blue. We have several tiers of the dial, more on that in a moment. Not every Lange case features a contrasting satin mid-case. I like the ones that do, and this certainly has that element of contrast. The other parts are polished. We have a inward stepped case band, so when the watch is on your wrist, it sits quite a bit lower even than its measured thickness. And Lange's ever distinctive stepped lugs that feature a bit of a soft bevel that tapers as you move away from the case. This was a design element suggested by Lange co-founder Günter Blümlein, who thought the refounded company, which launched its first modern watches in 1994, would need a distinctive design trait, and so he thought these stepped lugs would be a really great way of emphasizing that the modern company's wristwatches come from the round cases, absent lugs of the firm's historic pocket watches. So it's almost like we have the look of a pocket watch that has been transformed via the addition of these stepped lugs into a wristwatch. We have vintage-style rectangular pushers with a combination of satin and polish, and a Lange branded crown. As you can see, the watch features a functionality that has almost no dead angle. So by that I mean there's almost no turning of the crown without movement of the hands, which is a uncommon thing. Taking a quick look, you can see we've got alpha style hands at center, and then we have a couple of blued hands for the running seconds, as well as for the chronograph minutes, which is instantaneous jumping. You can see that the watch features white gold hands, and then a multi-planar dial. So at the lowest level, we have the countersunk subregisters. Above that, we have the hours, and outboard of that, the minutes, seconds, and fractions of seconds. Then we have the pulsometric scale. So here's how that works. Let's reset this. You start taking the pulse of your patient. You start counting to 30 at the same time you start the chronograph. And you're not counting to 30 as in 1 1,000, 2 1,000. You're counting 30 pulses felt. And at the point you feel the 30th pulse, you stop the chronograph, you check the hand against the scale, so that's 140 beats per minute. So that's how that works. Now this is a flyback chronograph, so you reset and you restart by pushing the trigger down at the bottom. That's great if you need to time events that occur in rapid succession. Of course, it's not coy about that feature. It tells you so right there. But the watch features a sterling silver dial base. It's galvanized silver, but it is in fact made of the precious metal silver. Turning it all over, you can see we've got caliber L951.5. So this is an evolution of the original dotograph. And the biggest change on this model, I'll wind it up a little bit more, is that the 9515 is part of the second generation dotograph caliber. So the second generation has 60 hours of power reserve rather than just 36 as the original did. We still have 5-position high horology adjustment along with an overcoil hairspring and a balance that's now free sprung, although we do have the swan's neck fine adjustment mechanism. Most of the adjustments will be done using the eccentric masses on the balance wheel rim. And so the balance wheel rim has those little round Pac-Man shaped eccentric masses. Those are adjusted in groups in order to change the timing by altering the inertia of the balance, speeding it up or slowing it down. Think about how you can stretch your arms out while you're spinning or pull them in, and they'll affect how quickly you spin. And that's exactly how the system works. We also have an overcoil hairspring, which is not universal on Lange watches, so it's generally featured on prestige models, so something like a dotograph or a Zeitwerk. And what it does is it allows the hairspring to breathe concentrically, so in just about any physical position, it's going to keep consistent time. Now you can see here we have a column wheel and a lateral clutch, and the column wheel feel on a Lange 951 is among the absolute best in the business. It's just a lot of fun to keep pressing it. It feels great. It sounds great. The lateral clutch engages in traditionally beautiful fashion. People ask, why do we have a lateral clutch if vertical is more modern? Because the lateral is more beautiful and it requires a lot more skill to regulate. You can see it's a 34 joule movement. The bridges and plates are made of German silver and nickel copper zinc alloy with that champagne hue. All the silver parts of the chronograph are made of steel. The German silver bits are engine turned on the base plate, snailed on the bridge for the escapement, striped on the upper bridges. There's engine turning on the base plate. You can see that perlage, and then above that we have freehand engraving on the balance cock itself, so no two of these are exactly alike. We have both mirror polished and blued screws, and here's the difference in their roles. The polished screws on this movement are used for adjustment, either of the chronograph or of the time-telling function, whereas the blued screws are used for fixing things that are not supposed to move or adjust. That's why all the bridges are held by blued screws, and most of the screws associated with the chronograph are polished. You can also see that the steel parts of the chronograph are satinated across their tops and mirror beveled on their sides. The same beveling applies to the German silver bridges and plates. You can see it's there and well represented. We have instantaneous jumping minutes. We have a 2.5 hertz beat rate, and then we'll move over to the lateral clutch to demonstrate what I think is the most impressive finishing flourish on the whole thing. These sharp interior angles on tight confines of the steel clutch. It's difficult to finish steel like that, especially when you're working in such confined spaces. That is deeply impressive. That might be the most impressive part of the whole movement. You can see there's also a lot of black polish. Black polish is everything that's turning black as I tilt it through the light. It's so optically smooth that it only reflects light at a single angle. From every other angle, it is black. The blued screws are blued by firing, and then all of the black polished elements are generally finished with either diamond paste and a wooden wheel or a zinc plate. and it's gorgeous. All this is 30 meters water resistant. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.